What's up, guys? What's going on? Welcome to episode number 8 of the Spun Today podcast. I'm your host, Tony Ortiz. Thank you very much for listening. This is episode number 2 of a 2-part series that I'm calling the Emma series. Emma's my newborn niece. For those of you that may have stumbled upon this episode before listening to part 1, go back and listen to episode number 7 of the Spun Today podcast, which is obviously the episode right before this one. This is episode number 8. And listen to that one. Basically, it's a conversation with my older brother David, and the part 1 is his feelings, his experience, pretty much what he was going through at the time prior to Emma being born, and this is the follow-up to that, which we recorded a few weeks after Emma was born. So this is going to be a pretty quick intro. We're going to get right into it. Just a quick update. This is the first episode that the Spun Today podcast is being recorded on a brand new Roland R05 MP3 recorder, which I'm happy with. Shout out to Black Friday deals. It is obviously not the full setup that I'm gearing up towards, but it's definitely a step in that direction, an important step in transitioning the humble beginnings of the Spun Today podcast from my computer desk, basically, and recording the first few episodes on my cell phone, to doing it on this. Hopefully it helps improve sound quality again. I'm still gearing towards the full mixer and set of proper microphones and stuff like that. But again, this is definitely a pretty cool thing. It's completely portable, very highly regarded in terms of user reviews. Shout out also to Cliff Ravenscraft, the podcast answerman, for putting out a ton of really valuable and informative information just on podcasting in general. And that's pretty much it, guys. As always, follow me on Twitter at Spun Today, also on Instagram at Spun Today. Like and review all the pictures there. Also visit the Facebook page, facebook.com/Spun Today. And if you have not as of yet, sign up to the newsletter on the spuntoday.com website under the contact tab towards the bottom. Just fill out your name and email address, basically, and you receive periodic emails whenever new content is added to the website, mainly these podcast episodes and some writings and stuff like that. If you happen to like any of the photography on the Spun Today website, check out created.com/Spun Today, and you can actually order posters and prints and framed prints of any of the photography that's there. And as always, remember to do all your Amazon shopping through the Amazon link and banner under my contact page. It doesn't cost you anything extra to do any of your shopping. Amazon just kicks back a referral fee of a couple cents on the dollar just for driving traffic towards their website. And that's pretty much it, guys. Without further ado, here is After Emma.
Do you know how many people listen to your podcast a week?
Yeah, it has like the stats of everything and stuff like that. Alright. Today is November 16th. This is the After Emma podcast. You're officially a father. And this is just to have a contrast to the episode that will be, or if you're listening to this now, was released prior to this one.
They wouldn't know.
What do you mean?
I mean, that's something that, how it's going to play out, but for them, it's just will be, they don't care when we recorded it, before or after or what.
No, yeah, but this is going to come out after that one. For anyone that stumbles onto this one, can know that it's part of a 2-part podcast.
Gotcha. Sorry.
And this is your feedback of what it's like so far. You're a father for 2 weeks?
It's going to be 3 weeks tomorrow.
3 weeks tomorrow. She was born October 27th, right?
Yes.
7 pounds, 13 ounces.
At 3 o'clock and 49 minutes in the morning.
Damn. That was a long weekend.
It was a long weekend. Because we got to the hospital at 6:30, and then they put something inside of Janet to soften her cervix for about, 12 hours, which brought us into Sunday morning. And then Janet woke up Sunday morning, and, she was ready to pop out a baby, by 9 a.m. That's what we thought was going to happen. And then that's when they told us that they're going to give us the actual medicine that'll start the contraction. We were like, oh, wait, this hasn't started yet? And so, Janet got out of the bed. She took a shower. I remember she was listening to Beyonce and taking a shower, getting herself pumped.
What Beyonce song?
I woke up like this. I woke up like this. I don't know the name of that song, but that's how it goes. And then
as long as it wasn't all single ladies. Nah,
she didn't listen to that one. But Beyonce's actually, dating Janet. I'm listening to Beyonce music, and it's very empowering music. It's about women power, and
she's like a Powerpuff Girl type of.
It's very she's like the female version of Jay-Z for guys.
No.
I don't know, but anyway, so then they put in the the Pitocin at around 9 o'clock in the morning. So we cruised the first 4 hours. The doctor said she'd be checking in on us every 4 hours at that point. And she came back at 1:30, and Janet's like, man, this is going to be easy. I don't feel anything. And then the doctor's like, well, you don't feel anything because you probably have a lot of water in your belly. She's like, so the doctor decided that, she suggested actually that we break, that she break Janet's water. And then, at 1:30, she broke Janet's water.
It's 1:30 in the afternoon?
1:30 in the afternoon. And then, Janet started feeling pain. And we had seen a couple of YouTube videos about how, you don't want to take the, that numbing medicine. The epidural. Because sometimes epidural speeds up the process of C-section. Speeds up the whole labor process, and then you end up getting a C-section.
Because it's too soon the contractions aren't far enough to have the baby. Or something like that, right?
Exactly. And so, we were trying to stay away from the epidural. Well, Janet was trying to stay away from the epidural, and I agreed. And by 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and she was 2 to 3 centimeters open, so she has 7 centimeters to go. She's like, all right, the 3 centimeters that opened up haven't been so painful, so I'm going to sit this out. And then all of a sudden the contraction started getting harder and harder and harder, and then 6 o'clock came. And, 5 o'clock came, the doctor came to check on her, and she was like, well, now you're 4 centimeters open. And the contraction...
At what time was that?
This was like about 5 o'clock. And then all of a sudden, I step out at like around 7 o'clock at night because I was getting hungry, and I remember you went to go get me a sandwich or something, and, when I come back to talk to Janet, she's like... Get me an epidural. Get me an epidural. I need an epidural. And I'm like, yo, what happened? I mean, she was in pain, but she was handling the contractions, Yeah. It's a weird thing because, like, you go through 3 minutes of not having pain, and then all of a sudden you feel that, she was feeling the contractions come on, and then she'd have a contraction for like about 30 seconds. And she was handling those cycles well. So, the doctor was, kept looking at us like, we were crazy. She was like, I guess she kept telling Janet that, I guess you like pain because, I'm giving you medicine to take away the pain and you don't want to take it. But, she didn't know that we saw that YouTube video.
Okay.
So she was just looking at it from her standpoint, which is like, I'm giving you something to take away the pain and you keep declining it.
No.
I don't understand. And then finally...
Did you guys verify with the doctor? Like, if I take this, does that mean the baby will come out quicker or something? Like that speed of the pregnancy?
Well, I was asking the doctor those questions the day of the labor. We didn't talk about it before that with the doctor, and the doctor just kept talking to me from a medical standpoint of like, no, there's no proven data that shows, that this speeds up the process.
She probably just wanted to get out of there and have the baby as soon as possible.
Right. That's what, exactly. That, we're being leery, like, the hospital's against us. Our wishes. So then, they gave her the epidural. It worked somewhat. It didn't work fully because Janet has a crooked spine. So the drugs don't flow straight down to where they're supposed to go. Something like that. But it didn't work, It didn't work fully. And, like around 1 o'clock in the morning, the doctor came back and said, oh, you're fully dilated. You're 10 centimeters. Now we can start getting you ready for pushing.
At what time?
1 o'clock.
In the morning.
There was this other lady who was also in the morning, and so there was this other lady who was having a baby, and then they had to take care of her first, and then they came over to Janet, who was ready to pop. She was 10 centimeters dilated, and we were basically hanging around till like about 2:30 in the morning. That's when it all started, and Janet was pushing for about an hour and a half.
Is that average? Do you guys know?
And what?
Like, from the point that you're fully dilated for the baby to come out, like an hour and a half.
No,
like pushing. And stuff like
there's no time for that. Actually, like every woman it varies between women, but the whole point was to get Janet to 10 centimeters dilated. Then after that, the doctor showed up whenever she showed up, which was at 2:30 in the morning, and then the doctor was just like push, and Janet was pushing, and I wasn't seeing any difference. And then
And how is that process? Is it like the movies and stuff like that? You're like next to her bed, holding her hand, she's squeezing your hand, screaming, cursing, and it's like super painful.
No, I think that varies also because I have been in. I've seen women give birth before. Our cousin.
I did one. Yeah.
I saw our cousin give birth, and I remember the room really stunk, and like really really badly, and her pushing wasn't. I don't remember her pushing as long as Janet did. So it varies.
Yeah, that was pretty quick with her.
Yeah, it was. With Janet, it was an hour and a half, and she kept pushing, and 40 minutes in, I was just like, man, this isn't gonna work. I hope they don't have to cut her open. And then all of a sudden, the doctor was like, look, and then I look over, and there's like the top of something's head, like pushing out of Janet's vagina, and I was just like, whoa.
Well, that's something.
It's like spinning around.
It was a human. It was a baby.
Well, yeah, it's a baby. Well, right now, all I see was something hairy and round pushing up against her vagina.
The Men in Black, when the lady had a baby and she spit out like a little octopus.
Listen, that's exactly what Emma looked like when she popped out. Because I was just like, oh my God, my baby has the weirdest shaped head in the world. It looks like a football. And she looks like a football. She was like dark and her head was like pointy on both ends. And I was just like, oh my God, this baby's so ugly. And I got scared. I was just like, I didn't know what to do. And it turns out that, the baby's skull is really soft. And I guess, yeah, it forms into shape, but to push it to come out of a vagina, it sort of has to be malleable, to pop out, and that's exactly what it was. My baby's head is big, but
it's not football shaped.
It's not shaped like a football, which I'm glad about that. I was the first thought I had was just like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to lie to it all the time and tell her how beautiful she is.
Right, so then you see the baby's head popping out.
Right, so
Janet's pushing.
So I see the baby's head. Well, yeah, Janet's pushing, and then the head would suck back in, and the doctor was calm. As doctors are, they this is probably like the 5th baby she's popped out that night, and then she was just like, "Come on, just push on through, Janet." She had this very monotone voice. Just push.
Doctors have like a real like a stoic demeanor. Just like always, like the same no matter what.
Yes, that's exactly what our doctor was like. And she was just push. Very good. Keep pushing. And then finally, Janet pushes and I see something come out.
What was the doctor's name? Do you remember?
Dr. M. She's affiliated with New York Downtown Hospital. New York Presbyterian Downtown. So... all of a sudden, boom, something pops out, and I'm just like, wow, the whole body popped out. And then I'm looking, and I'm just like, man, I don't know what that is. And then I realize that it's just the head. And that freaked me out at that point, because I'm thinking about, like, oh my God, she's choking the baby because, by the neck, because only the head is out. And then, like a couple of seconds later, she pushed, with the next contraction, and the baby popped out.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And after it's just the shoulders, right? Then
the shoulders pop out easy. Like, it's just one shoulder pops out at a time, and then boom, the rest of the baby just slides out.
At that point,
I think the head is the toughest part, because by the time the head pops out, the vagina is like, stretched out, and then all of a sudden, it's one shoulder, and then the next shoulder, and then,
yeah, true.
The baby's
That's
narrow.
like the widest out of all.
Mm-hmm. And then the baby's, limbs and the rest of its torso is pretty narrow.
Yeah. All right, so now the baby's born, baby pops out, and then what's the first thing that happens? Is it like the doctor gives it to the nurse and they start cleaning her?
The first thing that happens is they take the baby straight out of Janet and then put it on top of her chest.
With the umbilical cord
attached and everything. Right. And they clean out the face a little bit, and then the baby starts to cry, and they put it on the mother's chest, and then the mother's like half dazed and confused, shocked and in trauma, and then the other half is just full of delight and happiness. So like, I finally get to see your face after 9 months of you kicking me from the inside of my stomach.
Yeah.
And then
when do they do like the thing with the nose, that they clear out her nose and all that stuff, so they can breathe and spank her?
They do that as the baby was laying on her chest. They were cleaning out her pathways, and then they grabbed her for a second to clear her out a little bit better, and then they put her back on her chest, and then they immediately try to latch her on to breastfeed on Janet, and then she started producing milk almost immediately. Damn.
Is it right after birth they start producing milk, or like throughout pregnancy?
I think some women start like leaking a little bit before birth. I don't think Janet was, or realized that she was, and then but she did have milk that day as soon as the baby came out.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
It's like a whole bunch of hormones that are
like kicking in
your body, exactly, and then. She was basically ready to be a mother and start, feeding her child. It's like almost like
biologically everything just like clicked on.
Right, like every other animal on this planet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then, what happens after that? When do they like cut the umbilical cord? When was the first time that you held her?
So then the doctor is asking me like, "Oh, you want to cut the umbilical cord?" And I'm like, "Heck yeah!" And then I cut the umbilical cord once, and I cut it too long, and then she asked me, "You want to cut it again?" And I was like, "Yep." And then I cut it again. I cut the umbilical cord twice. And then
does that hurt any of them? Do any of them feel it?
No, the doctor actually said, "Don't worry, this isn't gonna hurt anybody." And so then they took the baby over to one side of the room to weigh the baby, and to look at it under the light, I guess, to look for any deformations or whatever they're doing. Mm-hmm. And then they were sewing Janet back up because, she had a tear. It was a natural childbirth, so she had a tear, and they were giving her some stitches. And there I am in between these two ladies, and I'm just going back and forth. Like, I didn't know where to go or what to do. And then Janet just took...
like, where was the baby when they were stitching her up? When they were stitching up Janet?
On the other end of the room, being weighed and being measured.
Oh, okay. Then, when was the first time that you held her?
The first time I held her, that's a good question. I've held her so much since then that I don't remember the first time. There was so much going on in the room, it's hard to remember. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when...
I think I don't remember when I held the baby, actually. I would have to ask Janet. That's no one has asked me that question. I haven't thought of that. So I wouldn't be able to answer that correctly.
So, do you remember when? Because we were in the waiting room. Me, mom, Janet's mom, her father, her sister, and
her best friend.
Her best friend was there. Yeah, that's right. I think that's it. There was another lady there actually that she was giving. Her daughter was giving birth, and like we were all there just waiting, and then you came out. That's when like you told us that she was born, how much she weighed and stuff like that. So do you remember like that walk out like towards the thing? Like
I remember that. It was a long walk. It was a long day, very little sleep.
A long weekend, right?
It was a long weekend, exactly. And, a million thoughts are running through my head. And I'm seeing things in black and white at that point. Like, everything's looking fuzzy. And I'm like, oh, now I have to explain this to, like, 8 people out here who are all going to be jumping up and down. And I'm going through a whole bunch of mix of emotions because,
like, disoriented still.
I'm still disoriented. Because birth itself, it's a beautiful thing, right? Life is coming into this world, but the process is not beautiful. I mean, Janet's body's going through trauma. A baby was just born and it's crying, and the doctors are trying to, figure out how much it weighs and, if it's going to be able to sustain itself without the mother. And, it's not a beautiful process. And there I am, watching all of this, and I walk outside and there's 8 happy people waiting for me to tell them, the baby's born. I'm like, yeah, the baby's born. And they just start, jumping up and down for joy. And I'm not, jumping up and down for joy. I'm just like...
You're not there yet? Cause you're
I'm not there yet. No,
processing, like, everything that's going on.
I just saw some fucked up shit and you guys are jumping up and down. And yeah, that's what that moment was like. I don't know. I wish I could be more simple where I could just be like, yay, a baby was born, thank God, and, I'm so happy. But I was just like, wow, Janet is like all sorts of fucked up, and the baby is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. and I hope they're both fine, like that's what I'm thinking. And everybody's just like, the baby's born, yay, 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 and so it was a bit of a contrast there. And so I was so glad when everybody left, and finally Janet got some rest, and they took the baby, and I saw that the nurses were in panic. Like, I felt like, oh, this is just the routine that they do here at the hospital. That has to be a good sign, right? Mm-hmm. Because the worst thing would have been if like everybody had long faces at the hospital. That the staff had long faces or
frantically running around.
Yeah, frantic. No, everything is fine, and they're all frantic and shit. Like everything like seemed like normal, and that eased me a little bit. And then I slept for like about a half an hour, and
they took the baby where to like the nursery.
They took the baby to this other room, to the nursery with all the other babies, so they could clean her up, and I guess take out some blood and figure out what's going on with our baby. She's A-, by the way. I don't even know my blood type, but I know A+. Our baby's A+. I almost know my baby's blood type, and I definitely don't know mine. So,
for those of you that may have heard, that was Janet whispering to David the blood type of the baby. But she's opted out of being
part of the podcast. And so the first memory that I have of the baby was when the baby was at the nursery, where there was like 8, 10 other kids, and they're all well, in my mind, right now in memory, I just remember all the kids like just moving around, and some of them were crying and just twisting back and forth, and I just saw Emma just staring at a wall, like with her eyes fixed up at the ceiling in the corner of a wall. And she was just like calm with her back towards all the other kids. And I was just like, oh, that's my baby. That's my baby. That's exactly what I would do if I was in a room with like 10 other people. I'd be like, all right, whatever. Let me just stare at this wall and wait, to get out of here.
Yeah. Were there other babies like crying in there?
There were babies crying in there, yeah.
That's cool.
Oh, so the best way I could describe... I remember my other podcast, I was talking about how beautiful it is and having a baby and how exciting and, I guess I was a little bit more on the magical side of things. But now that I have a baby, the best way I could describe it was there was this movie called The Matrix, and
yeah, we've heard of it.
Well, no, but I mean nowadays you have to say it like that because there's like younger kids who probably don't know what The Matrix is.
Yeah,
but anyways, there was this movie called The Matrix, and one of the characters' name was Neo, right? And they ask him, you know, he's living this fantasy world, and they ask him, do you want to take the red pill or the green pill? If you take the red pill, the blue pill, you go back into your fantasy world, and if you take the red pill, we'll show you reality, and we're not gonna promise you that it's gonna be easy or beautiful. So he ends up taking the red pill, and basically that's how I described it. Like, this baby was born, and it's beautiful and exciting, but now all of a sudden it's like this baby that you have to like take care of, and you know needs your attention, and you want to be there for her and make sure that you know she pulls through this delicate stage in her life. You know,
it's like reality setting in.
Reality setting in, exactly. Where like you know you focus most of your time on, you know, the safety of the baby and nurturing the baby than you know actually enjoying the baby, because it's not like she's doing much anyway besides eating. She doesn't even smile yet.
No. She smiled once with the sugar or something like that.
Yes, she smiled once for a little while at the hospital when they gave her sugar to calm her down. She started smiling.
That was an awesome picture.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, you spent what, like 35 years like focusing on you basically.
Yeah.
And now after that, over 3 decades, it's like switching gears, I would imagine.
It is, for me, it is definitely switching gears. I'm still trying to switch the gears, you know? Because like you said, it's like, you know, 3.5 decades of worrying about me, myself, and I, and now it's like I have a family to worry about before me, myself, and I. I think I touched on that in the last podcast.
Yeah.
Which is actually, you know, it's a nice change. You know, I have no time to focus just on myself because I have a baby to think about, and I have a girlfriend to think about.
Now, how do I remember after you were in the hospital for what? So natural childbirth, so 2 days, right?
Yeah.
And as opposed to cesarean is 4 days, 3 or 4 days.
Cesarean is like 4 days.
So then you guys she was born on Monday, early in the morning, and you guys left on Wednesday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
So she was there all day Monday, all day Tuesday. So those days you guys were just there chilling in the hospital, basically, like wanted to go home.
Yeah, like we wanted to go home, but we knew we had to stay at the hospital because the baby was still being monitored, and you know they were making sure that the baby was going to be able to take care of itself.
And then after that, then you guys got out Wednesday. I remember I met you guys up at the hospital.
You did. You left work a little early, and yeah, you went to go get our car.
Yeah, and then like we all left together. You guys got in the car. How was that? Like the first time, like putting the baby in the car. I think of like Will Smith, Just the Two of Us. Mm-hmm. That he says like
never saw that movie.
No, the song.
Oh, Just the Two of Us.
That he was like that he was driving like super slow on the highway. It doesn't matter if people got upset like behind him, and he was like super careful with the baby and
no. No.
And that night didn't sleep at all. Just sat like staring at the baby all night, like that type of thing.
No. So, I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy because, yes, I realize that there's a baby in the car, and yes, I know that this baby's young. But I also realize that I'm not the only person in this world who's ever had a baby. Like, life continues the same, you know? And well, not for me, but I mean, like, nobody else really cares. Actually, some guy told me that he doesn't care about 25 minutes into my car ride because, let me tell you what happened. So I'm driving, and I'm getting off the Brooklyn Bridge, and I'm trying to get on the BQE, right? So I'm on the left lane, and I'm trying to get on the right lane. And there's this guy on the right lane who's trying to get on the left lane. And so basically, I block him from getting to the left lane because I'm trying to get into the right. And the guy starts giving me an attitude, and I'm just, like, cursing at the guy, like, oh, you know, like, relax, you know, because he's beeping the horn like crazy, and I'm there with a baby in the back. And I'm like, dude, I have a fucking baby in the back, like, relax. And then he's like, I don't care if you have a baby in the back. And then I'm like,
welcome to New York.
Yeah, exactly. So I realized that that's the world that I live in, you know, where it's like, you know.
You probably should just let him go, though.
I did. I let him go, and I went on the highway. I let him go, Janet. Don't look at me like that. I let him go. I didn't get out the car, and I didn't flip out or anything. I just left.
You didn't flip out.
I cursed at him, but then I left. All right. So, anyways, I didn't handle that very well. All right, I didn't handle that very well. But, anyways, my whole point is that, you know, people don't really care. I mean, you know, I have this baby, and, you know, my life is changing, and, you know, I have to take care of this baby. But
that doesn't impact other people outside of you and like your immediate circle.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like anybody else is just
right. So
diluted.
Everybody else is what?
Like the impact of that gets diluted to the point that it doesn't matter. Like after a couple degrees of separation or whatever.
After a couple of degrees of separation, it doesn't matter. So I'm not gonna fool myself into thinking that I have this sort of control where, like, if I drive safe or my baby's any much more safe. I mean, I haven't been in a car accident, you know, in 5 years, you know, which means I'm driving just fine. You know, even though I'm sure people argue that I'm a little too aggressive when I drive, but I haven't been in an accident. Like, I'm pretty safe when I'm driving. So I'm not going to drive any slower or any more careful when what I've been doing has kept me out of an accident.
Do you have one of those babies on board?
No, but every time I hear somebody suggest that, I just cringed at the idea of having, like, you know, a baby on board sticker in the car, because that's another thing. Like, okay, I have baby on board on the car, and that just feels, I don't know, I can't get used to having a baby on board sticker on my car, and B, nobody cares. Is that going to stop somebody from speeding when they're like, oh, you know, I have to drive really, really fast so I can get to the bar and, you know, make it there before happy hour ends. Oh, wait, but that guy has a baby on board sign on. Let me slow down. Jeez, yeah, oh my God.
If a guy's driving, speeding to a bar for happy hour, he doesn't care about babies in other cars.
Exactly. Or some girl is, you know, busy, I'm being totally stereotypical, but busy talking on her cell phone or applying makeup, you know, talking on her phone. If she sees my baby on board sign, you know, in the back of my car is not going to make her, you know, put the phone down and, you know, drop the lipstick. You know, that's, I don't understand why people put those signs up. I don't know if they work. Maybe they do. I just don't get it. I don't think that'll, my sign isn't going to stop anybody from, you know, being less reckless around me.
And, alright, so after, what was the first thing you guys did, like, when you got home? Alright,
so the first thing we did when we got home was have an argument. With the grandparents. Mm. Well, it wasn't really like, you know,
our parents or Jan's parents?
It was mainly mom, our mother. Mm. Where we were just like, hey, you know, so they told us at the hospital that, you know, maybe we don't want to be showing the baby off to too many people until it gets its vaccine shots, you know, because the baby doesn't have too many vaccine shots, and that opens her to, you know, getting sick if somebody gives her some germs that, you know, she's not prepared to handle. And mom's like, what? That's not how it works. You know, back in my town, you know, the whole village will come and, you know, greet the baby and hold it and, you know, play with it, and we did just fine. You know, granted, you know, the mortality rate was a lot less.
A lot less than it is now.
Yeah, a lot less than you know it is here in the United States. But yeah, I mean that's what we do, and I was just like, nah, that's not what we're going to do. And then you know that just went into you know her giving her point of view and me giving my point of view, and
so in the baby's first couple hours out of the hospital, she got into a New York road rage argument and a fight at home with the grandparents.
Right. It's you know, life has a way of not letting you process things fully because it doesn't stop. Yeah, you know,
exactly.
You know, I'm there trying to process the fact that wow, I've literally been a father for about 3 days now, and you know, the guy who you know, me and him were blocking each other in traffic, you know, sort of didn't let me bask in that because he was, you know, flipping out over, you know, trying to get to the left lane. And mom is flipping out because, you know, she wants to show, you know, her cousin that she sees once a year, you know, her new grandchild, and she doesn't care if it risks the baby's life.
Yeah. But it's still all positive in a way because she's just doing it out of
love.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
just
get
out of like general like excitement and shit, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't miss the forest for the trees. You know, I'm just pointing out some of the trees. You know,
Yeah.
you know, like at the end of the day, like, I have this baby, and you know, I think it's the cutest thing in the world, and you know, she makes me happy, and she's making everybody else around me pretty happy, and you know, it's just really nice. It's a nice experience. But, you know, in that nice experience, there's also life going on.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of adjusting going on.
And how was the first night at home? Like, once, you know, the dust settled, the first night, nobody there, just you and Janet and the baby.
Actually, I think Janet's mom was there the first night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She was there to help us for the first couple of days.
True.
So, you know, I think, you know, by the time the weekend came, we were by ourselves.
But how were there those first couple of days? Like, actually at home, out of the hospital, out of that, like, environment?
Pretty boring. It was pretty boring. I mean, you know, the baby's constantly sleeping. And there's not much to do at home. I mean, you know, the grandparents are hanging around, so, you know, the place is clean. There's food on the stove. You know, the refrigerator's loaded. There's nothing for me to do except sit around and, you know, watch TV and carry the baby every once in a while.
Yeah.
It was very boring, actually. And then, very boring and also...
like, surreal at the same time.
Very surreal. You know, Janet has taken on her role of a mother, like, very seriously, to the point where, like, she doesn't want to sleep. You know, she wants to be up with the baby at all times, you know. There were a couple of times where, you know, I'd grab the baby and I'd go into the room and she's like hovering over me to make sure that, you know, I'm holding the baby right, or, you know, the baby's laying properly on top of the bed.
No.
Yeah. It's all about the baby.
That's always a good thing.
Huh?
That's always a good thing.
Yeah. It could be worse, right? I mean, we could not care and be worried about, you know, going to the gym or, you know,
Buying Jordans
or hanging out, you know, with our friends. Like, none of that matters right now. It's all about the baby and, you know, getting to know the baby and what it needs mostly.
Then you had, 2 weeks of paternal leave from work?
I had 2 weeks of paternity leave at work,
paternity leave. And then, how was that? Now, last week was your first week back at work.
Last week was my first week back at work.
How was it going back to work and, like, leaving the baby for the first time? Because until then, you were always around her, right? Every day?
Yeah. It was a little tough to go back to work and leave the baby at home, but, I mean, you know, I was ready for that because that's just how it works. I mean,
yeah.
You know, I adjust pretty well, and I know that, you know, I have to go to work, because now more than ever, I have to go to work because I have a baby at home. So, you know, I missed the baby, and I was hoping that Janet was fine. She was there with her mother, so it wasn't, you know, as tough for her as, you know, her staying at home by herself.
Yeah.
So, I felt a little bit at ease with the fact that, you know, Janet had some help at home. So it wasn't too bad my first day at work, and Janet kept sending me pictures of the baby. It was kind of nice calling home and checking to find out how my daughter's doing. Yeah.
How many times did you call?
I think twice. I called twice. Janet probably called me twice as well. Yeah, so I spoke to her like about 4 times throughout the day.
That's pretty cool.
That was nice. And then a couple of days after that, Janet's mother went back home, and Janet was alone with the baby.
So that was like the first time you guys like completely alone?
That was the first time where Janet was alone at home, and I had to go to work. And that was a little bit tougher. That was overwhelming on Janet, and I was like a little bit worried about, you know, how she was doing with the baby.
Nah, she didn't have like that backup.
Yeah.
Like at home.
Yeah. I mean, it's all...
But how did that play out? I mean, it's all a matter of adjusting, right?
It's all about adjusting. It's a little scary because, you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you're worried about, doing things right. But
it's the first time you're ever doing it.
All right. So one of the things that I'm learning is that there's no one right way of doing things. There's many right ways of doing things, and there's very few wrong ways of doing things. You don't want to do any of those wrong things, because it can be dangerous. But yeah, I mean, it's working out, right? The baby's 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's good.
She's made it this far.
Yeah, she's made it this far. She's pretty healthy. She was in the hospital one night after she left due to jaundice, which is, when the baby's skin is yellow, that's a sign that her bilirubin is high, which means that she's not getting rid of her toxins correctly. And it turned out that she was a bit dehydrated. She needed a little bit of light for her skin. And
so it was like a vitamin D deficiency or something?
It's a vitamin D deficiency, and she started, which can lead to, liver disease. So, they fed her well that night at the hospital, and she started pooping normally after that, and she's been fine ever since.
So she looked like Little Simpson or something?
She looked like a Simpsons character, yeah. She was yellow, her eyes were yellow.
Like
yeah.
Maggie?
She looked like Maggie. Yeah.
But now she's healthy and good, and...
She's healthy and good. And, I'm being very clinical with my description of what it's like to be a parent, because that's exactly how it has been for me. I'm not trying to bask in the beauty of it all. I'm more concerned of the child's well-being, and
you are like practical and making sure all the ducks are aligned, the T's are crossed, I's are dotted. Make sure everything's on point.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. And that's exactly what her mother's doing as well. Where we're just being very, practical and analytical and showing a lot of concern for the baby's well-being.
Yeah.
But it's nice. It's nice having a child. It's a lot of work, man.
Well,
whenever I used to hear people say that, I was just like, oh, come on. It's a lot of work, but, it's worth it. And it definitely is a lot of work, and it's definitely worth it. But it's definitely a lot of work.
Yeah, actually, remember I told you in the last podcast, I told you, like, a coworker of mine that he said, like, something to the effect of oh, man, that's going to start. It's a lot of work, and, like, stuff like that. And that I thought that it couldn't, like, really be a lot of work.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You thought wrong, my friend.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
He's actually... His wife is knocked up again. He's going to have his second baby.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So now he's like going through the whole shit all over again.
They told us at the hospital when we were leaving, all right, we'll see you in 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I remember. And you asked her if that's like the average or whatever.
Yeah.
And she said that's like what it should be. So this way you have time to bond with this one.
Yeah. That's what she said.
True.
How old is your coworker's first child?
Not even one yet, I think.
Oh, wow.
No.
Ghetto twins.
Yeah. So it's a lot of work?
It's a lot of work.
What does the work entail? Make it like more like that's a general statement, like what's a lot of work, like changing diapers, feeding, waking up.
It's the constant focus that you have to have on the baby. Like, this is the first time in my life where I can't pause this, or, put it in a drawer, or drop it down and then I'll come back to it when I get a chance.
You can't take a nap. You can't...
No, the baby is there 24/7, 365. And it's going to be like that for the rest of my life. Like, I want this baby to be fine, and I want to help it as much as I can. And that's the hard work, the amount of focus and attention that a baby demands.
Maybe she'll be
and
like...
obviously, I'm a new parent, so I'm pretty sure as time passes, I start having a little bit of my own life back where, I'm able to gradually drop the focus a little bit, or I don't know what happens to people, 2 or 3 months down the line. I'm only 3 weeks at this point.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure it gets a little bit easier. But, yeah, it's the amount of focus that you have to put on a baby. And I'm totally, I hate this cliche because, yeah, I always heard, like, my cousins say... I heard my cousin say this the other day. He was like, well, when I saw my my wife give birth, like, it gave me a newfound appreciation for my mother. And I'm just like, that sounds like that statement doesn't sound right. You just saw your wife give birth and now you're thinking about your mom. I don't agree with that. What I feel is, like, you do appreciate the motherhood, yeah, because it's not easy. I mean, the best way I could just, well, I'll just tell you.
That's probably what he meant, though, no?
I guess that's what he meant, but I mean I don't like when people simplify things to, like, 2-sentence cliches. That's what I'm basically trying to say. Like, I just saw Janet go from 9 months of carrying a baby, being always bloated and uncomfortable, and the swelling and the nights of not sleeping. I mean, the last month she was sleeping sitting down, and
that's because she has, like, back issues or something, right?
Yeah, she couldn't breathe because the baby would, like, lay on her lung or something when she would lay down, so she would have to sit up so the baby wouldn't crush down on her organ. So all right, so that goes on for 9 months, not 3 days, not a week, not like the flu or whatever. It's like 9 months of that, right? Obviously, it was a little bit easier at first, and then, it starts getting tougher. It progresses, right. So then 9 months go by, and then you have to go into labor. And labor is painful, and it's uncomfortable, and it's traumatizing on the body, and then you pop out this baby, and then all of a sudden, this is when the real fun begins. You know what I mean? Like, I'm being sarcastic. Like, now all of a sudden you have this baby and you have to feed it. You have to make sure it's sleeping, it's healthy. You got to take it to doctor's visits. You got to introduce her to the family. It's just, it doesn't stop.
It's a constant, go, go, go.
It's a constant go, go, go. You have no time for reflection.
All right, so then, like, so aside from the focus, then it's just, like, not just, but it's all the feeding, changing, clothing, like, stuff like that, giving her baths. That's, like, the actual, like, labor of it, I guess.
Not even giving baths, by the way. We gave her 2 baths so far in 3 weeks. They don't want you to give her a bath when her umbilical cord hasn't fallen out. That piece that stays hanging out.
Oh, okay.
That I cut off when she was born. Well, there's a piece of umbilical cord that's still hanging out of her belly, and that has to fall out before you can give her her first bath. And then because the baby skin is so sensitive, they don't really want you to be washing her up all the time. They
like actually introducing the soaps and chemicals and all that shit.
Right. I mean, Johnson & Johnson has some, baby soap that's sensitive enough for a baby, but they want the baby to produce oils for her own skin and develop protection.
Yeah. So it's mainly that then, just like the focus, I can't
the constant
take my
feeding.
eyes off you.
She feeds every 2 hours.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
And that's even at night, right?
Even at night. And then, when you feed a baby, you have to gas the baby. You have to take the gas out of the baby.
Like burp her.
Burp her, exactly. And then you have to change her diaper. And then, you have to wait for her to go back to sleep. So it's an event every 2 hours.
And you told me a couple stories of changing her diaper and then she shits on you again.
Yeah, while you're changing she shits right on my hand. Yeah, which is kind of cute actually. It's funny how that's cute.
How shit is cute.
Yeah. She just pooped on my hand and I don't mind. Oh look, she wanted to poop some more.
I changed.
If anybody else would poop on me in this world, I'd have a problem. But she can do it, and I think it's oh look,
it's adorable.
She's relieving herself on me. That's great.
I changed her once. And I thought the same thing.
What?
It was cool. It was cute.
Yeah.
But she didn't shit on me, so.
Right. Wait till she shits on you. Yeah, I mean, that's basically the feeling where it's like, you're doing all these things for the baby and, you don't mind doing it. It's hard work, but you don't mind to do it. Because, I mean, right now she's 3 weeks old. One day she'll be 3 months. Another day she'll be 3 years old. Next thing you know, she's 30, and we're looking back at life like, wow, where did it all go?
Mm-hmm.
So...
And we could listen back on this podcast.
Yes.
And reflect.
Yes. When she's ready, to lose her virginity at 30.
Yeah. So now that's like the hard work portion of it.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So what are the the positives, the good parts, the I'm happy I had this baby parts?
I'm happy to have this baby because it really puts things into perspective. And I guess I have no time to think about bullshit right now because I have a
all
baby.
Your focus is going on the baby.
Yeah, like I was explaining before, all my focus is on this baby, so I'm not focusing on other things, and like I have no time for BS. I'm focused on the baby. I'm focused on my relationship, and it's a lot of bonding and a lot of things that couples deal with together when you have a baby.
Because you both your lives basically revolve around the baby.
Yeah.
So you're both in that same mindset of focusing on the baby.
Yeah, I mean, my life completely changed because of this baby, and Janet's life completely changed because of this baby, and we're the only two people who are going through this experience. This life-changing experience, and we're doing it together. So, there's definitely bonding going on.
Yeah. And what...
And, yeah, I'm enjoying that. Like, things feel a lot more real lately. Real in terms of, I have, this baby I care about. This girlfriend I care about. And, I'm emotionally and physically present for them right now.
Do you have, a favorite thing or something that she does or anything like that? Have you picked up any, quirks or anything like that you like yet in the 3 weeks she's been around?
My baby doesn't like anything so far. She's only 3 weeks old. I mean, she cracks a smile when she's sleeping. I don't know what she's dreaming. I'm actually curious as to what do babies dream about.
Because if they dream, right? Or do they?
I don't know what's going on in her head, but she does not smile at all during the day. And then she'll close her eyes and she'll start smiling. So I don't know what's going on in her head. That's probably the thing that has me stuck. Where I'm just like, you have literally been here for a week or 2 weeks. Now it's 3 weeks. And you close your eyes and you start smiling to yourself. What are you thinking and what are you dreaming about? I just don't understand what's going on. Yeah. That baffles me. I find that amazing.
That's funny. That's weird. That's weird. I'm thinking of if you do you dream just based on experiences and shit that and stuff that not that because sometimes I dream crazy shit that I'm what the fuck was that? But do you have to experience things to be able to dream, to have something to draw from, or if not, then what the fuck is it? In her case, she's experienced nothing, right? She
very few things she's experienced, yeah. And she's smiling in her dream. I have no idea, man. I ask myself that same question over and over again.
That's weird.
And I have no idea. All I know is that she just got here and she's, smiling with her eyes closed.
That's pretty cool, though.
As she sleeps, yeah. But, I mean, she's too young right now for her to do anything fun. I mean, what I do love about my baby is that she never cracks a smile. I joke around and I say, wow, man, my baby has the weight of the world on her shoulders because she's always with a serious face and, she cringes and, her eyes just, tighten up. And I'm just like, what is wrong with you? What do you have to be stressed about? And I just laugh at that. I laugh at her serious faces. Her serious expressions.
New York road rage and arguments with the grandparents.
Right.
In a day.
Right. She's just like, wow, these people don't care about my well-being. They just want me, they want to expose me to germs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll stress me out too, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is. It's pretty cool. It's definitely life-changing. You know.
Yeah, that's always a constant. Whether it's from a fucking, like a deadbeat parent or a great parent, like, it's definitely consistent that it's a life-changing experience, like having a kid.
Even for a deadbeat?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. It's a life-changing experience. I mean, this experience, I guess it shows you what... I don't know. It's definitely life-changing. It's definitely life-changing. I guess whether, you choose not to be in a child's life, because that's another thing too. I mean,
And that's like a weight to bear in itself.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically turning your back on a human being when it's at its most fragile and most delicate, and when it needs you the most. So yeah, I could totally see how that has to. I mean, you have to have no soul for that not to just bother you a little bit.
Be a complete sociopath.
Right, a complete sociopath, exactly. To at least not have a drink on that. Like, whoa, wait a minute, what did I do? And when you stick around, it's also life-changing. I mean,
yeah, that's definitely
life-changing. Exactly. But yeah, you should have a baby.
I will. I want to. Definitely want to. I've always wanted to. I think I've wanted a kid since I was like fucking 16, I think.
Why?
I don't know. We just always been drawn to kids, I guess.
I thought I was gonna have a kid, in 5 years from now. That was the age that I was thinking about having a baby, but it didn't turn out like that, and I'm glad it didn't.
That's awesome.
I think so. I'm enjoying it.
What else? Any other enjoyable parts that you can touch on?
No, it's too soon.
For anybody freaking out on not wanting to have a kid that wants to have a kid?
No. I mean, it's really rewarding. It's a lot of work, but
worth it work?
It's definitely worth it. Yeah. It's I'm in a loss for words because
you're still processing shit. It's been 3 weeks.
Not even processing it. It's just there's no words to. There's very few words to describe the feeling. It's just something you have to experience. I mean, you ask a lot of new fathers, new mothers, and they're basically stumped with how to express what they feel.
They feel it, but they can't put it into words because it's an undescribable type of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been complaining for a little while in this podcast, but, in my mind, yes, I'm complaining, and that's how I'm describing my situation to you, but in my mind, I understand that, it's all worth it, and I do it all in a heartbeat, for her. It's a beautiful thing. And it's one of the conversations that I've had, I think I had it with you and I had it with another friend of mine was that, there's this feeling of love, right? But a lot of times, love and these feelings that you have, for other human beings are circumstantial, You can love someone and, they do you dirty and all of a sudden you're going to fall out of love, Or you move on and so forth. But, I love my daughter and, besides the feeling that I have for her, it's also a biological connection. Where, I understand that, I helped bring her into this world and, I feel a responsibility and I will always be here for her, as long as I'm here on Earth.
Yeah. That's cool. It's a perfect way to end it, I think.
All right.
Any last words?
Goodbye.
That's it, guys. That's episode number 8 of the Spun Today podcast, the post-Emma episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Special thank you to my brother David for being the first official guest on the Spun Today podcast. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thank you guys for listening. The outro is going to be super extremely short because it's been a long week and I'm just super tired. And I'll tell you guys all about it next time, actually. Follow me on Twitter at Spun Today, Instagram at Spun Today, Facebook.com/Spun Today, and check out the website, spuntoday.com. And as always, guys, substitute the mysticism with hard work and start taking steps in the general direction of your dreams. Thanks for listening.